lesson of the day, kids. Don't lie to start off your relationship. Be honest up front. You know, if you got racist parents, let them know. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Maya, and Happy New Year. Let's start with that. We made it to 2020, and that is the greatest thing in the world. Just waking up in a new decade. I finished Frankly in Love before, it was literally the eve of New Year's Eve. I finished it. So it was literally the last book I read in 2019, and it was a weird week because my fiance was off all week, and I don't like filming videos when he's home just because it's a little awkward. I'm still new at this, and so I like filming videos when I'm by myself, and I also don't like filming videos when he's home because I want to spend time with him. And we spent most of the week doing wedding stuff or just hanging out, cleaning, and also playing Borderlands 3. If anyone plays video games, Borderlands 3, if you haven't played it yet, I highly suggest it. And also playing with a friend is great, or just someone else, or significant other, whoever. For me, it's me and him. It's literally a combination of Call of Duty or any first-person shooter game, basically. Final Fantasy, basically, with all the worlds and weird psychotic people and fiend-like creatures and different worlds, and also like Mad Max. I guess that's a good way to describe it. And it's so much fun. You just loot for different ammo and money and guns so that you can defeat your enemies, and it's all about teamwork and deciphering things, and I just really like it. It's been fun. New Year's Eve, we came home from his sister's house, and we literally played it from 11 o'clock at night to about 2:30 in the morning. We missed the New Year, everything, but it was fun because we were doing something together. So anyways, long story short, I did not film. I like to film ahead of time, so I was planning on filming some videos on books I had read a couple of months ago before I started the channel, and of course, Frankly in Love, but unfortunately, I didn't get to do that. So today I'm filming my review of Frankly in Love, and hopefully I'll get back on track after this week. So anyways, I picked up Frankly in Love by David Yoon. I kind of went into it blind. I have a coworker who works in the teen services department who told me to check out the book because it was really good. I knew it was written by David Yoon, who is Nicola Yoon's husband, and I really liked Nicola Yoon's books. The Sun is also a star, and Everything. So this book follows a young teenager. He's, I guess, 17, 18? Never mentioned exactly what his age is, but we know he's a senior in high school, and his name is Frank Lee. He is a Korean American living in California. I forgot where already. And when the book opens, he tells us basically that his parents are super racist. He brings this up throughout the entire book. Oh, before I continue, spoilers, by the way. There's definitely going to be spoilers in this review, so if you haven't read this book yet and you're not interested in spoilers, I highly suggest you go read the book first and then come back. But yes. So anyways, he tells us multiple times throughout the book how racist his parents are, and good on David Yoon for actually showing their racism, no matter how uncomfortable. It was really well done, I thought. I'm just going to put the book down because it's going to be backwards for you guys, and yeah, so anyways. He does a really good job of also showing you his parents' racism, no matter how uncomfortable and awkward it is. And Frank is like, he is essentially one of those people who has tried to speak out, and I've actually been this person when I was a child. I had adults in my life who have said things against other people of different ethnicities, and I'd be like, that's not right, like, what are you talking about? And they would just ignore me, and you get to this point in time where you're just tired of it, and it's, you know, you just decide to give up, and there's no reason to fight because they're not going to change their mind. And that is how Frank is. And his sister Hannah was completely different. We don't really meet Hannah in person. He has a phone call with her later on in the book, and she's awesome. And he's told us she's awesome before, but we never really got to see it. All we know is that she went off to school, she did everything right, she got into a good college like his parents wanted, but then she ended up meeting someone, his name's Miles, and he's black, and she married him, and his parents disowned her, they stopped talking to her, and him a little bit by extension. He still texts her, but it's very rare, and it takes a long time for him to work up to texting her again more frequently, that we see in the book. And so this is a very big thing to Frank, because it's your parents, you know, and his parents really do love and care for him, and he knew they loved and cared for his sister. It was just this one thing that, you know, kind of turned them into bad parents. And, well, not kind of, but anyways, so he has a friend named Q, and I've also been in this situation where I've had friends who were dating people outside of their race, black people, for example, and their people in their family are okay with them being friends with me, but not being friends with their or dating their significant other. And that's kind of also a situation where he has a best friend who's also black named Q. Super nerdy. I love Q. He's adorable. And his parents are okay with Q, but again, not okay with Hannah's husband, Miles. And so that is one of the big dilemmas in his book, is loving himself, loving someone he wants to love, and loving his parents, and, you know, despite their flaws, despite his own flaws, and despite other people's flaws and whatnot. And at first, it starts off with him realizing this girl, Britt Means. I love all the names in this book. For let's just pause and appreciate some of the names in this book. There is Q, which is just general. But there's Joy Song. Joy Song is one of Frank Lee's limbo kids. They are the children of his parents' friends that they gather, and it's just a Korean family gathering, and the kids all hang out together. All hang out together and have dinner. And we'll get into why I like her name later. There is also Wu-Tang. Oh my god, I love his name so much. Wu-Tang is Chinese American, and in the beginning of the novel, he's Joy Song's Chinese boyfriend, which is a no-no because he's Chinese and she's Korean, and her parents only want her to date Korean boys. And Wu-Tang, he is just like a very groovy, he moves when he talks kind of person, and he's just, every time he comes in, I laugh. He's there for comedic relief mostly. He does have a moment where things get kind of serious, but for the most part, it's comedic relief, and he's a precious kid. And also because I think of the Wu-Tang Clan, and yeah. Anyways, that was the point. Who else do I really like their name? Oh, Britt Means. So, frankly, he does this thing every time he talks about Britt, where he says, oh, Britt means this, or something like that, where he's using her name and the word means together. And I just really like how the things are done. Anyways, so he finds out that Britt Means is interested in dating him. He really likes her. He thinks she's beautiful and smart. She's one of the APs, one of the kids in the AP honors classes. And problem though, she's white. So again, not Korean. And he decides to fake date his friend Joy so that he can go out with Britt Means. So they decide to create like a Google Calendar, and they set dates with their significant other. So frankly, will be like, oh, I want to go on a date to the museum with Britt Means, but he won't add her name in there. And once he sets that, then Joy will go and find a way to set a date. It's in a similar region with Wu-Tang, so they can go out together. And he will go pick up Joy, drop her off at her date, and then go get Britt, drop and go to their date, so that their parents let them stay out without concern, and they're able to freely date who they want to date. But therein lies the problem. Joy has never told Wu-Tang that her parents are racist. And Frank decides to do the same exact thing and not tell Britt Means that his parents are racist. And so while Britt introduces Frank to her family and Wu-Tang introduces Joy to his family, there is no reciprocation in that respect. And both of them end up feeling hurt by it because, you think you're being hidden from your significant other, and that's not a good feeling. You want to be included, you want to know every aspect of their world, because that's a part of dating, and that's a part of loving someone and getting to know someone. And so lesson of the day, kids, don't lie to start off your relationship. Be honest up front. If you got racist parents, let them know. They can figure out what they want to do with that information on their own. Or you guys can work together to figure out what to do with that information. But don't lie about it. And also don't fake date your friends. Because as we all know about YA novels, fake dating never seems to work out. Or it does work out, but not necessarily in favor of any outside parties. So, here comes the spoilers section. Frankly, finds out that he does not love Britt Means. She tells him she loves him, and he says it kind of to diffuse an awkward situation. He thinks he loves her, but he doesn't actually love her. And he later finds out the same thing happens with Joy. And at a mutual family wedding, Frank and Joy get together and realize that they have actually had feelings for each other all along. And I got the feeling from the very beginning of the novel, he's at a gathering and he goes to seek out Joy, and she's just in her room, and he's noting all of these things about her, and I'm just like, oh, he's got a crush on her. But then Britt Means happens, and I'm like, And then him and Joy fake dating, and I'm like, And so the twist there is that they end up dating, and I thought it was really well done. This novel to me is very realistic in that a lot of novels, you date someone and you guys are kind of together and that's it, like there's no after the fact, there's no, hey, we're going to college, there's no, and there are people that, I have two friends that their very first relationship has been their lasting relationship. One, she's been married to her husband for 7 years and she's known him since she was 14. My other friend, he met his wife in college and they've been together ever since. But not everyone's like that. And so their breakup hurt. It was really sad, but also I appreciated that it was pretty realistic that they didn't, stick it out together. And then when he gets together with Joy, you think, oh, well, things are good now because they're actually together. Their parents like the fact that they're together. And then shit hits the fan again because Frank's father gets into an argument with Joy's father because Joy comes from an affluent family. Her father is rich, but to Frank's father, not by his own volition. He is rich because he borrows money and he has all the lavish things, and he has his nice car, his nice house and everything because of loans, whereas even though Frank's father works at a rundown convenience store, he did all of that without any debt. So he feels like he's richer than Joy's father. And it also stems from their socioeconomic relationship back in Korea, where he's like, what was it? A rich mouse versus a field mouse or something like that. I don't remember what the actual phrase was. But basically, rich versus poor over in Korea and then still over in America. And so their fight, both parents decide that suddenly their kids can't date. And obviously Frank and Joy get very upset about this, but Joy ends up kind of backing off because they're having a harder time meeting up together. Every time they do meet, they have to get Q involved, so it's like a 3-person date, so they think they're just hanging out as friends, which I don't know why they would think that would work, because before they had convinced their parents that they were dating, even though they weren't dating. So why would the parents think that they could just go back to being friends? I don't know. But anyways, so it gets hard for Joy, and she decides to break up with Frank well before the summer ends. At the same time, Frank learns that his father is sick. His parents don't really talk about things, which is another thing. Sometimes I think parents, and this is one of the reasons why I personally am not ready to be a parent, is that there is a fine line between being honest with your children and burdening your children. And I don't know if this was necessarily David Yoon's intention, but I think in the respect with Frank's parents, it's more with not being open. His family is not open. And he talks about this when he's observing Britt Means' parents and how they hug each other and they're very open and honest with their relationships and physical affection and stuff like that. Whereas his parents are very closed off. They rarely tell him they love him, and there's no hugging and stuff like that. And when they talk about things, you know, they only talk about what they want to talk about, and then they cut off the conversation, kind of. It also doesn't help that there's a little bit of a language issue where his parents don't have, they have very strong accents. They can speak English, but it's not as well as other people that came over from Korea, like Joy's father and parents. We find out that his dad has cancer. Because of that, he ends up having to work at the store more, and again, neglecting his relationship with Joy. All the while, they're in the middle of taking their exams and applying for college, and yeah, there's just so many aspects to this story. I quickly want to go through some of the things I didn't necessarily like. I know that Frank has a very specific way of talking. He's very nerdy. He makes these really weird references all the time, and I personally appreciated it. Some of them took me a little long to get. Like, for example, there's one, and this is not him, it's his, at the time, girlfriend, Britt Means. She's wearing a shirt to one of their dates that says, what is a 4-letter word? And I don't know if this says anything about my intellect, but Wu-Tang is like, what is a 4-letter word? And she's like, that's it. That's the joke. What is a 4-letter word? And it's literally what, W-H-A-T, is a 4-letter word. And it took me until her explaining it to him to get it. But anyways, so that's kind of like Frank's humor and the way he talks. And the problem I had with this was there are a few times where, and you know, like him and Q are really cute with like calling each other old chap and stuff like that. So they have their own way of talking to each other. But there are times when I feel like him, Britt Means, even Joy, they say similar things, too similar, to the point where it's like, who, isn't this the same way that somebody else would talk? And so that was just, and I wish I had highlighted examples. I highlighted examples of other stupid stuff. Like, I do enjoy Frank's metaphors, and I like the phrase metaphor incoming. But there are some where I'm just like, what are you saying, please? For example, he does this when he's comparing, or not comparing, when he's describing Britt Means, and also he does it once with Joy. He says, and I don't remember who this one is about, but it says, we both sense it's time to kiss, so we kiss again. She smells like set sun and musk and ice cream. And I'm just like, what does set sun smell like? What does set sun smell like? Because I feel like, depending on where you are, it has a different scent. But anyways, so he says that twice. He's got a thing with the sun. Oh yeah, here we go. This time he's talking about Joy. It says, it's easy to rest my cheek atop her head and simply inhale the scent of her scalp. She smells like an afternoon nap in the sun. Now to me, an afternoon nap in the sun smells like sweat. So that doesn't sound romantic or good at all. And at this point in time, they're not dating yet, but it's like getting to the point where he's like realizing he loves her, or he's interested in her. But I was just like, an afternoon nap with the sun doesn't smell good. Like, I feel like you'd wake up sweating, right? So that is just a thing. What else didn't I like about the book? Aside from language, sometimes. Most of the time, I felt like it was pretty good. It did seem a little drawn out towards the end. You know, I kept being like, okay, where's the end of the book? I feel like it could have ended the chapter before it did. I guess it was alright, but I don't know. I wasn't necessarily like blown away by the ending. I feel like it could have ended a chapter or two before it did. What else didn't I appreciate about Frankly in Love? I didn't necessarily, at first I really liked, so Q, spoilers, again I told you there would be spoilers in this book, Q is gay. We learn early on in the book that he has a crush on someone, and I feel like he says her, but I mean he could have said her and not meant her, just using it as a way to hide the fact that he was, you know, he's in the closet, and we find out literally at the end of the book, not the very end of the book, but it's before Frank goes off to college. Q tells him he's gay by kissing him, and I thought it was really sweet that Frank didn't freak out by the kiss, you know, because I feel like it would be a normal reaction to be a little thrown off by that, not by the fact that your male friend is kissing you and you're male and you're not gay, but just the fact that your friend's kissing you and that's not a thing that they normally do, you know? But he just lets it happen, and I really, really appreciate that. And Q is sensitive, and so is Frank. And that's one of the things I truly enjoyed about this book, is that they're both allowed to cry with each other. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, like, they're both very understanding and kind of shattering those toxic masculine things about not being able to cry. So yeah, I really like and enjoy the fact that they can cry in front of each other. And so Q starts crying and he's like, please don't tell anyone. And Frank is like, you know, you're gonna make some boy really happy one day. And that is just so sweet. But yeah, early in the novel, we find out that he really likes someone, and I thought it was Britt. Honestly, I thought it was Britt, that he had a crush on her, because he kept saying that the person he was interested in was taken. And so I'm thinking, oh, it's Britt, and Frank got to her first, and then what did he say? After Frank and Britt broke up, I figured out of respect for Frank, he still wouldn't go after her. But then it turns out that he is gay, and that's fine. But I just felt like it was rushed, you know, like to do it right before he's about to leave for college. But I mean, it's not something that they needed to have a long conversation about either. I don't know. I was happy with the delivery and not happy with the delivery at the same time. Anyways, I think those were my major qualms with the book. I felt like good things, like I said, David Yoon does an amazing job of tackling issues around racism. He talks about things that I didn't think he would talk about. Not that I had any thoughts on this book at all, but I was just pleasantly surprised by him talking about code switching, him talking about, again, racist parents, and also showing like just racism towards Asians in general. There's this really good scene where him and Joy are on a date, one of their first dates in a while, to this shitty cheese. It's kind of like a cheesecake factory, but that's not what it's called. I don't know if it's a real place or if it's just one he made up. But he took Joy to this kind of like cheesecake factory, and they get made fun of, I think, by these white boys, and they're calling them Chinese, and obviously they're not. And it just kind of ruins their night. And it also happens, they go to a festival, and it's a Korean festival. They actually just wind up in it. They were going somewhere else. There's a festival going on, so they stop and they're like, forget it, let's just go through the festival. And Joy sees like this dish or a dessert that she really wants, and he decides to order it for her because his Korean's apparently a little bit better than hers. And he orders it wrong. He just says like one letter off, one syllable off, and the old woman who's Korean at the shop starts screaming at him and telling him how he's not a real Korean and he should learn how to use his Korean right, and she doesn't know what he ordered and stuff. She was just really, really mean and nasty. And then her grandson comes out and like gives them the food that they ordered, and apologizes for his grandma. But it just shows that there are obstacles with just nasty people no matter what, and it happens in the Black community as well. There are Black people who were just like that nasty old Asian woman. And there are people outside the Black community that are just nasty and think we're all the same, all from the same country, all from Africa, as if Africa is this one ginormous country and not a continent full of multiple countries, or not even from Africa, because there are Black people literally all over the globe. Literally living in Europe, living in Asia, living in South America, living in North America. We're everywhere, so get used to it. Anyways, so yes, and is the main thing I genuinely appreciated about this book. I appreciated the relationships, the friendships, the relationship between Frank and his sister Hannah, the coming together near the end over tragedy. I appreciated his relationship with Q, his relationship with Joy, the fact that he knew like, hey, just because I'm in a relationship now doesn't mean I can neglect my friend. He was getting there, and I was like, listen, don't leave Q behind. So he did good, relatively good for a teenager in love, because that happens even now with adults. Somebody gets into a relationship and all of a sudden they forget who their friends are, but whatever. I'm not speaking from experience, but no. So yeah, I overall thought this book was really good. I gave it a 4.5 star rating on Goodreads. And again, it's mostly because of those weird things that I mentioned before, especially the Q's coming out and the fact that I thought it could have ended like a couple chapters before it actually did. That was just my own personal take on it. Overall, I thought the book was really well written. I loved Frank's voice. I know not everyone probably will because he's very meta and very dirty. I enjoyed that he was into music. I didn't know what the hell the device he uses is for. And since he is so meta, I figured another thing I didn't particularly like was the fact that he never really talks about music. It's just like, hey, I whipped out this device I made a song on, and it's like, okay. But you don't talk about music at all. And I know he's going to school for music and whatever, but like, yeah. So I just felt like that was something they could have gone a little more into instead of like video games that they're playing and whatever, talking about. It would have been nice to have him and Q talk about like what they want to do with their careers, their lives or something in college or anything like that. Not that I think I don't particularly remember if I ever had that kind of conversation with my friends, so maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know, just considering their level of intellect and the things that they do talk about, that would have been something it would have been nice to see. But yeah. Anyways, there's quite a few wonderful conversations about race in here. One with Britt Means and her family. One with Q and Frank, just about racism in general. Yeah. I really love this book. I might purchase it. I'll let you guys know in a future video if I do end up purchasing it. But yeah, for now, I would highly suggest checking out Frankly in Love. This came out, I think, in September. So I am not that far off this time. Not reading a super old book. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It took me a while to read it, I feel like, more because I was savoring it, and I was also nervous about what was going to happen in the book, and then it took a different direction than I thought, and then I just kind of like sped through it. And like I said, I have a couple nonfiction books that I'm trying to read by the end of this month. I do really want to get some more fiction books. One just came in on hold for me, and actually I found out about it because it was on Webtoon, and I read in the comments somebody was like, oh, the book was so good, and I was like, oh shit. It was a book first before it's on Webtoon, so I want to read that because I was really into the Webtoon comic, and I mean, I didn't get that far in. I was like maybe 4 chapters in before I put the book on hold and stopped reading it. So yeah, that's it for now, guys. I am hopefully going to edit this video before tomorrow so it can go out and start the new year off right with a book review, as I promised. And I hope that 2020 treats you all well. I hope you achieve your reading goals this year. We can go back and reflect at the end of the year, maybe. And I really want this channel to keep me on top of my reading. So far, so good. So I'm really proud about that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you have a happy weekend. Hopefully it's nice and sunny wherever you are instead of doom and gloom like it is here with me. And that's why I'm in a new location, because of the crappy lighting outside. And yeah, if you like my content, please remember to hit the like button so I know. Hit subscribe so you get notified when I drop a new video on Sundays. And leave a comment below. It might take me a while to get back to your comments, but I promise I will always get back to your comments. I try to stay off of YouTube, at least off of this channel, as much as possible, just because I don't want to get caught up in like anything. And you know, because I need to read, so honestly I should be reading. And with BookTube, I really look up books that I'm interested in reading or I've read and I didn't like them. So I want to know if other people didn't like them too. So, yeah, but I promise to try to watch videos and I will respond to your comments, and that's that. So until next weekend, have a good one. Bye.